My name is Abigail. I am 11 years old, and last summer, my mom went to a private island in the Maldives for a month and left me with a single crumpled $20 bill in my hand. See, you are independent now, she said with a bright, tight smile, hauling her designer suitcase toward the door. You are not a baby anymore. Just order food if you need to. Okay. Independent. That was her word, not mine. I stood in the marble foyer of our house in Silver Creek Estates, staring at the bill in my palm. $20. Not a plan, not a nanny, not even a real goodbye. Just the click of her heels on the polished floor, the beep of the security system disarming, and the heavy thud of the front door closing. I will be fine, I whispered to the empty, echoing hallway. But my hands were shaking. Before I tell you what happened when the money ran out, drop a comment below. What is the most unreasonable thing your parents ever expected you to handle on your own? I read every single story. Silver Creek Estates is not a neighborhood, it is a fortress. High walls, armed guards at the gate, cameras on every street corner. It is designed to keep bad things out, but nobody talks about how good it is at keeping secrets in. My parents, Stephanie and Gregory, loved this house. They loved the smart technology, the automated blinds, the voice-activated lights. They loved everything about it except the people living inside. After the front door locked automatically behind my mother, the silence settled in. It was heavy and thick, like a blanket I could not kick off. I walked to the kitchen. It looked like a magazine spread, gleaming stainless steel, white marble countertops, not a crumb in sight. I went to the refrigerator, a massive smart unit with a touchscreen on the door. I pulled the handle. Locked. A small red light blinked on the panel. Parental controls enabled. Access restricted, scheduled meals only. I tried the pantry. Also locked. My dad had installed digital locks on everything 6 months ago after accusing me of sneaking snacks and ruining my appetite for the dinners they rarely came home to eat. I looked at the emergency credit card my dad had left on the counter next to the $20 bill. It was a corporate platinum card, heavy and cold. I picked it up and tried to order a pizza on my iPad. The app asked for a 2-factor authentication code sent to the cardholder's phone. My dad's phone. Which was currently on a private jet halfway to the Indian Ocean. I tried 3 times. Code required. Code required. Code required. I was trapped in a $5 million smart home with $20 cash, no way to buy food online, and a fridge that treated me like an intruder. I walked to the front window. The streets were empty. The houses in Silver Creek are set far back from the road, separated by high hedges and long driveways. If I screamed, the only thing that would hear me was the landscaping crew's leaf blowers 3 blocks away. I went back to the kitchen and sat on the floor. The house hummed around me, the air conditioning, the refrigerator motor, the distant beep of the security system. It was not a home. It was a machine. And I was just a ghost in the gears. By day 3, the hunger was not a noise anymore, it was a physical weight. The first day, I found a box of crackers my mom had forgotten in her home office drawer. They were stale, but I ate them slowly, savoring the salt. The second day, I found a stash of condiment packets in the back of a kitchen drawer, ketchup, mustard, soy sauce. I squeezed the ketchup onto my finger and licked it off, pretending it was tomato soup. Now, on day 3, there was nothing. My stomach cramped, a sharp, twisting pain that made me curl into a ball on the rug. I knew what you are thinking. Why did I not call the police? Why did I not run to the neighbors? It seems so simple from the outside. But when you grow up the way I did, logic does not work the same way. See, in my house, needing help was a failure. It was proof that you were difficult, needy, or ungrateful. My mom loved to tell her friends how mature I was for my age. Abigail is practically an adult, she would say, sipping wine. She handles everything herself. That was not a compliment. It was a command. It meant, don't bother us. Don't be a burden. Be invisible. So, lying there on the floor, dizzy and weak, I did not think about calling 911. I thought about failing the test. If I called for help, I would be admitting I was not independent. I would be embarrassing them. I would be the problem child they always suspected I was. I convinced myself this was a challenge. If I could survive this, if I could make the $20 last, somehow, though I could not leave the gated community to spend it, they would finally love me. They would come home and say, "Good job, Abigail. You did it. You are worthy." I pulled out my dad's iPad, the one he had left behind in his rush. I opened Instagram. There they were. A new post from 10 minutes ago. My mom, Stephanie, in a white bikini, holding a glass of champagne. My dad, Gregory, laughing, tanned and relaxed. The location tag read, Maldives Private Sanctuary. The caption, disconnecting to reconnect. Sometimes you just need to escape the noise. I stared at the photo. The noise. That was me. They were drinking vintage champagne that probably cost $500 a bottle, and I was drinking tap water to fill the empty ache in my belly. The realization hit me colder than the air conditioning. This was not a test. They did not leave me here to teach me resilience. They did not leave me here because they trusted me. They left me here because they did not care if I survived or not. As long as I was quiet. As long as I did not interrupt their reconnection. The cognitive dissonance, the mental gymnastics I had been doing to protect them, to make them good parents in my head, shattered. They were not teaching me a lesson. They were erasing me. And if I stayed quiet, if I stayed invisible, I would disappear completely. I looked at the ketchup packet wrapper on the floor. I looked at their smiling faces on the screen. And for the first time in 3 days, I did not feel fear. I felt rage. Day 5. I woke up on the living room floor. My body felt light, almost floaty, but my head pounded with a dull, rhythmic throb. I tried to stand up, but my legs buckled, and I slid back down against the wall. I sat there, breathing hard, watching the dust motes dance in the shaft of sunlight coming through the high windows. That is when I saw it. A tiny green light blinked in the corner of the ceiling, near the crown molding. A motion sensor. But not just a sensor. I squinted. It was a camera lens. I looked around. There was another one by the kitchen entry. Another in the hallway. I dragged myself to the coffee table and picked up the iPad again. I opened the smart home folder. There was an app one had not noticed before, Secure Home Cloud. I tapped it. It did not ask for a password, my dad had logged in and stayed logged in. The screen filled with a grid of live feeds. The kitchen. The living room. The hallway. The front porch. The backyard. And there I was. On the living room feed, I saw myself, a small, pale figure huddled on the rug, hair messy, wearing the same clothes for 5 days. The camera was high definition, 4K resolution. It picked up everything. The dark circles under my eyes. The way my hands shook. The empty water glass next to me. They were recording everything. My parents were not just neglecting me, they were surveilling me. The house was not just a machine, it was a panopticon. A prison where the guards could watch from a beach halfway across the world, if they bothered to look. But the log showed last login, 6 days ago. They were not watching. They had the power to see me dying on their floor, and they were not even checking the feed. The logic board in my head rewired itself. If they wanted a smart house, I would give them a smart house. If the cloud recorded everything, then my suffering was not just happening in the dark. It was content. It was data. It was evidence. I stared at the camera lens. I did not hide my face. I did not try to look brave. I looked straight into the black eye of the machine. If you want to watch, I whispered, my voice raspy but clear on the audio feed, I will give you a show. I stood up, using the coffee table for support. I walked to the kitchen. I stood in front of the locked fridge. I did not pull gently this time. I rattled the handle. I am hungry. I screamed at the stainless steel. Open. I am hungry. The camera captured it all. The desperation. The smallness of my voice against the hum of the appliances. I walked to the hallway camera. Mom? Dad? Are you there? I asked the empty air. I waited. Silence. I let the silence stretch, knowing the timestamp on the video would mark every second of their absence. I was not surviving anymore. I was performing. I was directing a documentary of my own abandonment, and I was making sure every frame was perfectly, undeniably clear. Day 7. The doorbell rang. The sound was so loud in the silent house that I jumped, my heart hammering against my ribs. I froze. Who could it be? A delivery driver? Another package for my parents that I could not open? Then I heard the keypad on the front door beep. 1, 2, 3, 4. The lock disengaged with a heavy clack. The door swung open. Abigail? Are you ready for our session? It was Mr. Nathan. My private math tutor. He stood in the doorway, blinking against the dim light of the foyer. He held his briefcase in one hand and a travel mug in the other. He looked confused. My parents had forgotten to cancel him. They had been so focused on their trip, so focused on their escape, that they had forgotten to tell the one person who came to the house regularly not to come. I stepped out of the shadows of the living room. Mr. Nathan dropped his briefcase. Abigail? He gasped. My God. I must have looked terrible. I had not showered. My clothes were hanging off me. My face was gaunt. I did not say anything. I just stood there, letting him see me. Letting him be the witness I needed. Where are your parents? He asked, stepping inside, leaving the door wide open. Maldives, I croaked. For a week? A month. Who is staying with you? No one. He stared at me, his eyes wide, processing the horror of it. Then he pulled out his phone. I am calling them. This is insane. He dialed. I watched him. He put it on speaker. It rang once. Twice. Then it went to voicemail. He dialed again. This time, it went straight to voicemail. He looked at me, helpless. Then his phone buzzed with a text. He looked at the screen. In a meeting. Handle it, he read aloud. His face went red. Handle it? Handle what? Their starving child? He looked at me. I am calling the police. Or Child Protective Services. Right now. No, I said. My voice was stronger than I expected. Not yet. Abigail, you need food. You need a doctor. I know. But if you call now, they will say it was a mistake. They will say the nanny did not show up. They will lie. I walked over to him. We need a witness who is not on their payroll. I pointed out the window to the house across the street. Mrs. Patricia. Mrs. Patricia was the neighborhood busybody. The retired nurse who walked her poodle at 6 a.m. every morning and noticed everything. My parents hated her. They called her the watchdog. She was exactly who I needed. Mr. Nathan hesitated, then nodded. He ran across the street. 5 minutes later, he was back with Mrs. Patricia. She took one look at me and burst into tears. She did not ask questions. She went straight to the kitchen, saw the locked fridge, and cursed, a word I had never heard an old lady use. She tried the emergency card. Declined. She looked at Mr. Nathan. We are calling the authorities, she said, her voice shaking with rage. No, I said again. I picked up the iPad. Not yet. First, we need to download the footage. What footage? Mrs. Patricia asked. I turned the screen toward them. The grid of cameras. The last 7 days of my life, recorded in high definition. Me sleeping on the floor. Me begging the fridge. Me screaming at the empty air. This, I said. We need all of it. Because when they come back, I want them to see what they missed. Mrs. Patricia was a force of nature. She did not just get me water and a protein bar from her purse, she became my co-conspirator. While Mr. Nathan kept watch at the window, Mrs. Patricia sat with me at the kitchen island, helping me transfer terabytes of video files from the cloud to an external hard drive she had brought from her house. We categorized them: Day 1, denial; Day 3, hunger; Day 5, the performance. It was methodical. It was cold. It was necessary. Just as the last file finished downloading, Mr. Nathan's phone buzzed again. Another text from my father. Change of plans. Coming home early. Board meeting moved to the house. Have the place clean. Landing in 4 hours. I stared at the message. They were not coming back because they missed me. They were not coming back because they were worried. They were coming back because of business. They were bringing their board members, the people they needed to impress, the people who controlled their money and their status, right into the scene of the crime. They are coming back, Mr. Nathan said, his voice tight. For a meeting. Good, I said. That is perfect. Perfect? Mrs. Patricia asked, smoothing my hair back from my forehead. Abigail, honey, we should leave. We should go to my house and call the police from there. No, I said. If we leave, they will clean it up. They will hide the evidence. They need to walk into it. I looked at the massive 80-inch television mounted on the living room wall. It was the centerpiece of the house, the thing my dad loved to show off during football games. Can we connect the hard drive to the TV? I asked. Mr. Nathan looked at the TV, then at me. A slow realization dawned on his face. Yes, he said. Yes, we can. We spent the next 3 hours staging the room. We did not clean up the mess I had made, we highlighted it. We left the empty condiment packets on the rug. We left the blanket I had been sleeping in on the floor. We positioned the iPad on the coffee table, screen facing the door. And we set up the TV. Mr. Nathan connected the drive. He queued up the playlist. Are you sure about this? Mrs. Patricia asked, holding my hand. Her grip was warm and solid. They will be angry. Very angry. I am counting on it, I said. But not at me. Not this time. I went to the kitchen and retrieved the single $20 bill. I taped it to the center of the black TV screen. It looked small and pathetic against the sleek glass. What is that for? Mr. Nathan asked. That, I said, is the price of admission. We waited. The sun began to set, casting long shadows across the room. The house was silent again, but it felt different now. It was not empty. It was holding its breath. I sat on the couch, right in the middle of the mess. Mrs. Patricia sat next to me. Mr. Nathan stood by the wall, near the light switches. At 6:45 p.m., we heard the tires on the gravel driveway. The heavy thud of luxury car doors closing. Voices. Laughter. This place is a fortress, Gregory. Impressive, a deep male voice said. Wait until you see the interior, my father's voice replied, smooth and proud. Stephanie has done wonders with the design. The front door lock beeped. 1, 2, 3, 4. The handle turned. I took a deep breath. The show was about to begin. The door swung open, and my parents stepped in, flanking 2 men in expensive suits. Stephanie was wearing a silk resort dress, tanned and glowing. Gregory looked sharp in a linen blazer. They were the picture of success, of leisure, of the perfect life. Welcome to, my father started, sweeping his hand toward the living room. The words died in his throat. He saw the condiment packets. He saw the blanket. He saw Mrs. Patricia, the neighbor he despised, sitting on his custom Italian leather sofa. He saw Mr. Nathan standing like a sentry by the wall. And he saw me. Gaunt, dirty, staring straight at him. The two business associates stopped, their smiles faltering. "Gregory?" one of them asked. Is everything all right?" My mother gasped. "Abigail. What is going on? Why is the house a mess? Who are these people?" She looked at Mrs. Patricia. "Get out of my house." "We tried to call," Mr. Nathan said, his voice cutting through the tension. "You were in a meeting. Our nanny must have stepped out," my father lied smoothly, turning to the associates with a strained smile. "Apologies, gentlemen. Domestic miscommunication. Abigail, go to your room." I did not move. I did not speak. I just picked up the remote control. "Abigail." My mother snapped, her voice rising an octave. "Did you hear your father? Go upstairs. Now." I pointed the remote at the TV and pressed play. The screen flickered to life behind the $20 bill. The audio boomed through the surround sound speakers, my mother's voice, recorded on the day she left. "You are not a baby anymore. Just order food if you need to. Okay. Independent." Then the video cut to me on day 3, screaming at the locked fridge. "I am hungry. Open. I am hungry." The business associates watched, their eyes widening. My father lunged for the remote, but Mr. Nathan stepped in front of him. "Let it play," Mr. Nathan said. "Let them see." The video shifted to the night footage, me shivering on the floor, the timestamp marking 3 a.m. Then the audio of my father's voicemail to Mr. Nathan, in a meeting. "Handle it." The room was dead silent except for the sounds of my suffering echoing off the walls. My mother's hands flew to her mouth. My father looked at his business partners, panic finally breaking through his composure. This is out of context," he stammered. "It is a misunderstanding." "That is your daughter," one of the associates said, his voice cold. "That is your daughter starving in your living room while you were pitching us on ethical leadership." "No," I said, speaking for the first time. "I am not their daughter. I am their liability." I looked at my mother. Her tan seemed to have drained away, leaving her gray and old. "You wanted everyone to see your perfect house," I said. "Here it is." Mrs. Patricia stood up. "The police are in the kitchen," she announced. "They have been waiting for you to arrive. And I believe the Homeowners Association board members are parking outside right now." I called them, too. My father slumped against the wall. It was not the police that broke him, it was the board members. The reputation. The shame. The narcissistic injury was total. He looked at me, and for the first time, he did not see a child he could ignore. He saw the architect of his destruction. The fallout was immediate and absolute. The police emerged from the kitchen, and my parents were handcuffed in their own foyer, right in front of the business associates who were already calling their legal teams to sever ties. Neglect. Child endangerment. Fraud. The charges piled up like the unread notifications on my dad's phone. Child Protective Services took custody of me on the spot, but Mrs. Patricia stepped forward as my emergency guardian. I did not even pack a bag. I just walked out the front door, past the police cars, past the gawking neighbors, and crossed the street to Mrs. Patricia's house. I never went back to Silver Creek Estates. My parents lost the house, their jobs, and their standing in the community. The video footage I had captured was the cornerstone of the prosecution's case. They plead guilty to avoid a public trial that would have aired even more dirty laundry. I live with Mrs. Patricia now. Her house is small, and the fridge is old, but it is always unlocked. My room is painted yellow, and there are no cameras. On the wall above my desk, in a simple black frame, hangs the crumpled $20 bill. I never spent it. I kept it. It is not money to me. It is a receipt. It is the price tag they put on my life, and the seed capital of my freedom. Sometimes, I look at it and remember the girl who laid on the floor, waiting for permission to survive. And then I remember the girl who stood up and turned the cameras on. They thought silence would hide them. They forgot that in a smart house, the walls don't just have ears. They have eyes. If you believe every child deserves to be seen, not just watched, hit that share button. Let's make sure no one stays invisible.